Alrighty everyone, happy Sunday all. I hope you're all having a great weekend so far. There's been a lot of things going on between Disney executives and Lucasfilm creatives, including of course Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, and exactly what's really going on with the overall Star Wars franchise. Now, we know that the franchise is going through a lot of adjustments, a lot of change, to really give the fans a last-ditch effort by Disney to really turn things around throughout this year and next year, to really test the waters with different scenarios and different shows and all the like. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, there's one great thing about Jon Favreau is that he really is on the storyteller side of things. I'm not saying that he is not knowledgeable about Legends or the lore or anything like that. He's very knowledgeable, but he's not quite as informed as Dave Filoni really is. Filoni was like the true protege of George Lucas and really carried on a lot of his, knowledge about the franchise, the philosophy about the overall Star Wars universe at hand, and more. Now, one big thing that Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, has planned for Jon Favreau, and of course Filoni, but we're going to be focusing on Favreau a little bit later in the second half of this post. There's a lot of things going on right now over at Lucasfilm to really kind of change the face of the company. So let's dive right into the specifics about all of this, because this is an ever-changing scenario. I mean, there's been a lot of things going on. They're already in the process of getting a new regular president of Lucasfilm. Dana Brunetti, a Hollywood producer, by the way, is at the top of the list, the top candidate to take over Kathleen Kennedy by this August. So far, so good. Now, with that being said, however, given that Bob Iger is getting ready to make some big announcements to fans very soon, both Jon and Dave are beginning to take over portions of Lucasfilm month by month until the process is fulfilled by mid-2024. Now further, it's noted that recently Jon and Dave took over Lucasfilm further in a very unique way that will provide some more reassurance to fans. Their Star Wars, of course, is actually going to be in good hands. One department that Jon and Dave are now in the process of taking over is said to be related to the story group. In the meantime, until George Lucas steps in to take control of it in 2024 as the head. Now, Jon and Dave are now able to call all the shots on the direction of each Star Wars show and film that's in the works, and that much of this has to do with actually shifting away from Kathleen Kennedy's style that has only caused damage to the brand that Favreau and Filoni are looking to repair. Now, additionally, Jon and Dave are also erasing some major lore and canon from the Star Wars franchise, including new High Republic stories that are now getting cancelled officially. Now, this is said to have been a mixture of books, shows, etc. that were left in limbo, and even other forms of media that they are actually deciding to shift away from to focus more so on the Old Republic, which is a darker, more sinister version of the High Republic time. Kennedy is best explained to be very angry over their recent promotions handed out by Bob Iger in a last-ditch effort to actually turn Star Wars around for the better. Now, here's where things get very interesting, is that Bob Iger is actually in the process of attempting to make George Lucas, or should I say Jon Favreau, the actual vice president and general manager of Lucasfilm. And the main reasoning behind all of this is that it would give Jon a lot of power over at the company, even more so than the privileges that he already has at Lucasfilm that almost work like a president anyway. But I guess they would like to have him get that status and really get, more privileges out of that actual position. Now, Brennan is currently, the vice president of Lucasfilm, and Bob Iger wants to replace her eventually with Favreau. This is a big plan that's in the cards right now, and it's developing each month throughout 2023. Now, on top of that too, of course, with Lucas getting heavily involved in The Mandalorian Season 4, which is said to be Jon and Dave's best season, there has been talk that Jon and Dave's work on Mando Season 3 was unfortunately impacted when they were working heavily on Acolyte and Skeleton Crew the first round, before they left, and now they are finished with Season 3, and they are trying to fix portions of those shows too again. Now, given that Bob Iger also wants to make Favreau eventually executive, of course, and also the vice president and general manager of Lucasfilm to really run the show completely while also having a lot of time to work on all these different Star Wars shows and more. Now, of course, given that, of course, this is going to take a very, a good amount of focus, I guess you could say, by Bob Iger. You have to do and make all of your decisions very carefully right now. One little mistake could very well destroy everything of what they're trying to really reach towards, right? Basically, the goal right now is to really bring Star Wars back to the way it used to be, and to also reunite the fans. They want to take away that fan division. They don't want the toxicity anymore, and you know what? I understand that. You don't want a lot of fans divided, between certain shows. You have a lot of fans that love Mando. You have a lot of fans that either, like or dislike Andor. You have a lot of fans that still to this day, love the sequels or hate the sequels. I obviously, when you look at the sequel trilogy, when you have, the people that support it and those that don't support it, the latter is quite more on the minority. But the majority, of course, a lot of people have issues with those films. There's no doubt about that. And so that brings us to a very difficult situation. Now, given that Jon and Dave are currently taking over the story group and how this is going to be an ever-evolving thing throughout this year, and how they're going to be able to call more shots, not just on the shows now, but also the video games, the movies, just everything related to the comics, the books, the lore that's being created, all these great things. And I like how they're diminishing the High Republic material, keeping that at least at bay for a while, and focusing more on Old Republic content. Again, Jon is a storyteller, he's a world builder, and he knows what fans actually like visually speaking. He knows what fans like as far as the mythology of the franchise goes. And like I said earlier, Favreau may not be as knowledgeable as Dave with the lore. He's just right there, but not as knowledgeable. But he's most certainly like the storyteller guy. He is the guy that works with that. So anyways, there's a lot of things happening here. Do I think that it's a good idea that there's a plan to make Favreau vice president and general manager of Lucasfilm? I think it's a great idea, to be honest. If you have a world where you have Dana Brunetti as the president, Favreau as the vice president and general manager, and also working on the shows and the films more at the same exact time, that's a big workload, by the way. But then you also have Dave Filoni doing his thing with all the Star Wars shows. It would make you wonder, would Favreau look for a replacement, somebody that could succeed past him to fill in the spot or at least help Dave Filoni? Well, there's been a rumble about that, and we're not quite sure exactly what it really entails, but there's been a lot of Lucasfilm creatives getting hired throughout the past 3 months. And a lot of those are replacing some of the older ones that really aren't contributing the most positive material, let's just say, to the franchise. So anyways, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this below, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.